2024 is coming to an end, and as such, it's time to look forward to the next year and the DC projects that are set to be released in 2025. Now, the Infinite Crisis trilogy finished, so we've seen the end of the Tomorrowverse, though sadly, it's not looking like there'll be any new continuing series released next year, as all of the animated films announced so far are from separate, standalone universes. Though I do think a short time making standalone films would actually be good for DC. I do enjoy a continuing series of films, but at the same time, I do think all the best animated movies that they've made are the standalone ones. But in any case, here are the upcoming animated films and series that DC are planning to release in 2025. Batman Ninja vs Yakuza League. Now, this film is a sequel to the 2018 film Batman Ninja, and it features the same cast and crew as the first one. And while the first film involved Batman going back in time to a feudal Japan, the sequel sees him travelling forwards in time to fight an evil Yakuza version of the Justice League, which does actually sound like it could be quite interesting. I am a little surprised this one was getting a sequel, to be honest, as the first film didn't seem to be that popular. I mean, some people liked it, but it wasn't mega huge. Though in fairness, it did gross $3.8 million, and of course there were the profits from the figurines as well. So it does kind of make sense there'd be a sequel. And you do have to admit that they were certainly some imaginative character designs. But with this film you can expect one thing for certain. It'll have really good fight scenes, and considering they're between the Justice League and Batman, well, that alone makes it worth watching, despite what the rest of the film is going to be like. I mean, we don't really see him take down the Justice League in the animated films. We see it sometimes in the comics, sure, but to see it properly done in an animated film, well, that's something worth looking forward to. Aztec Batman Clash of Empires. Now, you may be suffering from a little bit of deja vu on this one, because it was actually supposed to come out in 2024, so I mentioned it in my last video of upcoming titles. But it had production issues, and now it's supposed to come out in 2025. Now, this film is a reimagining of Batman that will be coming out on the Max streaming service. It's set in the time of the Aztec Empire, and Yahuli Koti, a young Aztec boy, experiences tragedy when his father and the village leader, Toltecazin, is murdered by Spanish conquistadors. I cannot pronounce half these words, I do apologise. Is murdered by Spanish conquistadors. Now, Yahuli manages to escape and warns the king and his high priest, Yoka, of the imminent danger. And then using the Temple of the Bat God as a lair, he trains with his mentor and assistant, Akatzin, developing equipment and weaponry to confront the Spaniard invasion, protect the Bat God Temple, and of course, avenge his father's death. Now, I'm a huge fan of revenge stories, and I love the idea of the common man getting revenge on his oppressor. And I am interested in seeing them take the Dark Avenger of the Night and adapt it into Aztec mythology. And that is basically what this is going to be. It's the Batman story that we all know and love, but being told with an Aztec twist. So it could be quite good. And some of these designs do actually look quite interesting, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this film eventually looks like, especially since we've waited an extra year for it now. Jurassic League. Now, this film's premise is pretty straightforward. It's all the heroes and villains of DC that you know and love, but they're all dinosaurs.
Do you roar? You will.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The film is an adaptation of the comic book of the same name, and unfortunately, that's all we know at this time. Well, that and the fact that it's being produced by James Gunn and written by Brian Lynch. But hopefully this ends up being an entertaining film. So there isn't really much more to say about this, except we can easily see why it was created and why it's actually being made. I mean, everyone loves dinosaurs, especially young kids, so it actually sounds like a great project. And I think this film is going to be a bit of a comedy and, quite frankly, just a bit of fun, which is something I do like seeing every now and then in a DC film. Sure, we all enjoy the serious films like Under the Red Hood, but it is nice to have a bit of comedy every now and then. And so I think this one could actually be quite good, and I might actually be looking forward to this one more than the other two, because I just love the idea of it. It's just so simple and so insane at the same time. I mean, what if they were all dinosaurs?
No one's eating me!
Oh, egads, it speaks! I've never heard tell of a talking sapien.
I mean, you could do that to pretty much any franchise and it would be interesting to watch. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing this one. And there is also the animated show Creature Commandos, which came out on the 5th of December for 2024 on the streaming service Max. Now, obviously this is about the films coming out next year, but I'm talking about this one because it's set to kick off the new DCU, meaning the old DCEU will end with Aquaman's film, and then the DCU will be born with this animated show.
Would you like to kill Nazis with G.I. Robot?
If I killed Nazis with anyone, it would certainly be you, G.I. Robot.
Oh.
Now, for those who aren't familiar with Creature Commandos, just think of it as the Suicide Squad, except it's made of mythical monsters from legend, and of course it's still run by Amanda Waller. And Amanda Waller is also getting her own live-action show that's simply called Waller, and there is also a second season of Peacemaker coming out, both of which are part of the DCU, and are set to be released in 2025. That being said, there is a lot of production issues going back and forth of when they're going to be released, and I do believe that the second season of Peacemaker will definitely be out in 2025, but Waller could easily come out a year later. It's very much up in the air at this moment. And a live-action Booster Gold series is also in production, but again the release date is unknown. Although that one's unlikely to be 2025, it's probably later on. I just thought I'd mention it because it's kind of interesting. And there is also the DC animated show Bat Family, which is set to be released in 2025 on Amazon Prime, and it's a continuation of the film Merry Little Batman. So we can expect the same style and tone that this film had, and though the film was aimed at a younger audience, it was still quite enjoyable to watch, so the series could be interesting. It might be a little juvenile in places, sure, but that can still be quite entertaining.
Santa Claus.
We should get a picture. Alfred would love that.
No pictures. Only justice.
And next we have Harley Quinn. Now, this show was of course renewed for its 5th season back in 2023, and it was originally planned to hit in November of 2024, but as we all know, it hasn't come out. It's been delayed and is now expected to drop on the streaming service Max in 2025. Now, there's nothing more to really say about that because we all know what Harley Quinn is, and we all know what the 5th season's going to be like. Exactly the same as the previous seasons. And finally, there is a Blue Beetle animated series currently in development. Now, this show is going to be building on the live-action film, so it'll be about the Jaime Reyes version of the Blue Beetle, and the same actor, Xolo Manduena, will reprise his role as Blue Beetle. Though sadly, not much else is known about it yet because it's still very much in development. So this may or may not be out in 2025, it's looking like it will actually be later, but depending on how the production goes, it could come out. And those are the DC projects that have been announced so far to be released in 2025. Well, the animated ones anyway. I'm not talking about the live-action films because, well, we all know which ones they are. Now, I honestly don't know which one of these I'm looking forward to the most. So far, I'm more excited for the animated series coming out, if I'm being honest. But since these movies are standalone, and they're all different takes on the DC characters that we're used to, it will mean we'll be getting a fresh take on DC, which does actually sound kind of interesting. And there are some pretty cool reimagining designs of the characters, to be fair, so a lot of these projects do actually look like they'll be worth a watch. But that's just my opinion, of course, and the real question is, what do you think? Do these projects look like they're worth watching to you? And which one are you most looking forward to seeing? Feel free to let us know in the comments, and I'd just like to quickly remind everyone that we have some merchandise available on our store, and to say thanks to all of you who have donated to the Needle Mouse production page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.